India is negotiating FTAs with a number of countries, including the EU bloc. What ought to be our guiding principles? What are the compromises we can make, and what are the ones that we can't?
Well, the first principle in that is put India's interest first. And in this, I won't shy away from saying some of the bilateral agreements done earlier, even with groups of countries, not just one-on-one bilateral, but India with a group, either the negotiations were very speedily handled. I do not want to attribute any intentional malice or anything. Either the negotiations were very speedily handled, or the language of the document was very loose, or they were hasty understanding of the collateral which we'll face. That today the Commerce Ministry is engaged in review of many of the FTAs already signed, whether it is with Japan, whether it is with Korea, whether it's with ASEAN. There cannot be a second thought in India. No stakeholder will have a different opinion that in some of these agreements, India is facing a challenge. There are goods where you think you're very concerned about, but because of the FTA, there is just a flood of goods coming in which you're not able to regulate. Duties don't make a difference to them because the FTA allows it. And therefore, the experiences and lessons learned from that kind of agreement signing, today our understanding is a good negotiation, putting India's interest should be absolutely your top priority. And unless you do negotiate for India's own good, even your negotiation will not be taken seriously by the opposite side because they are very clear on what they want. But can you not be as clear? And therefore, I would think the approach now is to be a lot more hands-on on your negotiation. Take the stakeholders absolutely at every process with their inputs, not just consult them once and leave them, but as you progress, get guided by their inputs. And above all, on the larger principle, it is going to be a lot of bilaterals. It is not just India. Globally now, because of the tariff uncertainties, because of the ineffectual way in which WTO operates, you are going to depend on bilateral agreements rather than look at multilateral or even look at bilateral, but when things go wrong, you still have a WTO to fall back on? No, you probably don't have an effective WTO. I'm not saying it's not there. It is there. But with your complaints going there, you're not going to get any redressal in a near future. So what is the good of it? And therefore, bilateral, your interests first, and ensure the language of the agreement is such that you don't get into legal tussles too often.
There are a number of multilateral initiatives, such as on climate and BEPS, that India has been a very robust contributor to, from where the US has now withdrawn, and therefore, will India continue to engage despite who else leaves in these multilateral?
The two-pillar solution, BEPS.
Yes.
I'm not sure if there is any alternative to what existed before for the BEPS negotiations or for the two-pillar solution. With US not participating, and it was US together with OECD and G7, which were taking it up very seriously to talk about the two-pillar solutions. And that was essentially the way in which one concern under the BEPS, base erosion, profit shifting, could be addressed. But if two pillars fallen, other concerns of BEPS remain, and there is no one particular group whose priority will be BEPS now when they are looking at what's going to happen to, let us say, the Western Europe's security considerations, or the Indo-Pacific, or the IPEF, or the Quad, or the NATO. There are very many such issues on which the world will be now discussing on priority. There will be a time when they'll come back to it, but at the moment it's not BEPS and two-pillar.